A civil war, potential military coup, debt crisis, plummeting currency, and failed bailout pleas? This is the reality of 231 million Pakistanis who are living through another economic meltdown. The inflation has worsened the economic turmoil in the country, and behind the madness, only one player emerges as the victor. India has officially entered the chat, and now New Delhi controls the fate of its classic arch-rival, Pakistan. In this video, we're breaking down the causes of Pakistan's dying economy, why the country is spending billions on its defense, and lastly, how India is forcing its hand with China and Saudi Arabia. Before we start, like this video and subscribe to our channel for informative content. Now let's get started. Pakistan has become a global menace. It is abysmally governed, violent, unstable, and nuclear-armed. Its generals must, once and for all, get out of politics. This is the opening description of an explosive The Economist article that detailed the implications of the arrest of Imran Khan, Pakistan's heartthrob leader, who once took democratic reins to pull the nation out of its crumbling economy. While the country is trying to strike up a good image to leverage loans from organizations like the IMF, the military is staging another undemocratic coup. And the military's recent target is Khan, who even today exists in the good books of IMF. It was fun while Khan's democratic rule lasted, because as it stands today, the country is breaking apart both financially and democratically. Here's the thing. Pakistan's economic crisis has been brewing for ages. Its recent tussle with devastating floods and food insecurity have only added to an existing problem that seemed like an uncontrollable wildfire. And let's just say, the fire is only galvanizing. There are three deep-seated, distinct reasons for Pakistan's durable economic turmoil. First, the guns. You see, ever since its inception, the country has found itself in a hot geopolitical situation with its neighbor in the east, India. As a result, Pakistan has developed a habit of allocating colossal amounts in military and defense budgets, more than it can afford to. Next up is China. And well, this is perhaps stating the obvious, but the country's free trade agreement with Beijing has left Pakistan high and dry. It's simple. With the China-Pakistan economic corridor, the weaker nation has been left with turbulent loans that come with tough terms and conditions. Experts are comparing Pakistan's situation with Sri Lanka, that had to give up the notorious Hambantota port to China after the default. There's no easy way to say this, but as of now, Pakistan has limited resources to start the payment mechanism for its hefty Chinese loans. Is the country falling into China's rumored debt trap? By the looks of it, quite definitely. On paper, Beijing and Islamabad are two allies whose friendship knows no bounds. But with China's recent hesitancy to bail Pakistan out, we know for a fact that the tides are changing. And well, everything just boils down to the country's overall resource inadequacy. The homegrown disdain for Chinese trade affinity has a lot to do with who gets to take advantage of Pakistan's natural resources and who doesn't. So far, China is winning the game, and the local populations in Pakistan have been extremely disfranchised. This becomes a humongous issue when the country doesn't seem to control its highly infectious population growth, which is the third reason for Pakistan's doom. To put it simply, Islamabad doesn't have adequate resources or loose money to support a growing faction that readily relies on state welfare and other governmental programs. In a nutshell, Pakistan's impending doom just boils down to guns, babies, and China. And with its mounting debt, there's no saving grace for the country, especially when its longtime geopolitical foe India is playing a long haul with its neighbor's fragile economy. A quick glance into the political history of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan would tell you that it's barely a democratic state. Sure, it has a prime minister who's supposed to be the head of the state, but in 2023, all curtains were raised. While there's no fixed index to make a conclusive statement on this particular matter, experts believe that Pakistan is being run by its army generals. And for good measure, the military has been extracting hefty portions of the GDP for their run-of-the-mill agenda to protect the nation from its classic rival, India. The first talking point in this frame is the new political awakening in Afghanistan. So let's unpack this, shall we? It's a brave new world. In Asia, the bridging alliance between India and Afghanistan has caused a great sense of concern for Sharif's government. Ever since the U.S. withdrawal from Kabul, the Taliban-led government of the war-torn country has refused to initiate any peace talks with their immediate neighbor, Pakistan. If anything, Afghanistan was clear on forming an economic corridor with India to maximize financial gain on its natural resources and minerals. And New Delhi couldn't be more ecstatic about this development. Then, of course, there's the classic case of Kashmir. While both India and Pakistan have been historically drawing weapons against each other, one of the parties can't afford to wage a war. The point of contention between the two countries is the disputed territory of Kashmir that has an Indian and Pakistani-controlled land respectively. When it comes to Kashmir and claiming its ownership, both India and Pakistan are fairly ready to start another round of a playground fight. And that's a bit of a problem when both nations have tried and tested nuclear weapons. That's right. And nope, their negotiation or peace talk capacity hardly exists. So far, these South Asian rivals have fought 3 full-scale wars over the fallen Himalayan territory. And both of the countries came into being in 1947, so yeah, that's 3 wars in 74 years and counting. Considering that Kashmir is an active war hotshot, Pakistan is being forced to put billions in the cause. And that means the country has to allocate a hefty budget to defense, something the IMF frowns upon. In Pakistan's recent snafu with the International Monetary Fund, the country's extravagant military budget made major headlines. India's decision to not pursue that opportunity left Pakistan with limited options. And surprise, surprise, the Sharif government ended up jacking the defense budget by 16% in this economy. By the year 2024, Pakistan would have spent 1.82 trillion rupees on its military ventures. And for organizations like the IMF, that could be a huge deal breaker. Enjoying the detailed economic rundown? Like this video and subscribe to our channel. As of now, Pakistan's economic problems are centered around its political instability. At the back end, the inflation is at an all-time high rate of 48%. The rupee is plummeting drastically, and to top it off, Pakistan can't seal the deal with the IMF. While both of the parties are negotiating readily, any inflow of a loan in the country seems improbable. Believe it or not, the biggest dispute in this case is that the government isn't in the position to sign any agreement with the IMF. Their days are numbered before a caretaker government takes over. At the same time, Pakistan also has a limited number of allies during these tough times. Its biggest regional ally, China, has been fixated on its BRICS alliance to galvanize the global de-dollarization campaign. For this particular play, New Delhi and Beijing are working together closely despite their refusal to see eye to eye for decades. The way things are, Pakistan isn't in the position to capitalize off India's limited affinity with China. In all likelihood, if the IMF bailout doesn't go through in the next few months, Islamabad will approach Beijing. But the question is, why is there a delay in a collective action to bail out Pakistan? All eyes are on India. With its recent strategic position in South Asia, it's making deep strides with Pakistan's historical saviors, like Saudi Arabia. The geopolitical rulebook would suggest that the country is at the brink of an economic collapse, and India wants to take full advantage of that status quo, not to mention, due to the slowing industrial process in the country, Indian exports are naturally gaining momentum in South Asia. Due to these factors, more and more key players in the region want to fixate their imports on India, a country that has been faring well recently. Recently, New Delhi made fast-paced advancements to launch its unified payment interface in the Gulf states, including the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In all likelihood, the deal would go forward, and for the first time in history, India would have a bank-to-bank interface with leading oil exporters. These recent strides show us that Pakistan is virtually being isolated as India proceeds to declare another checkmate. As the Modi-led government continues to strike strategic economic alliances with Pakistan's traditional financial saviors, the walls are closing in for Islamabad. Not to mention, the BJP government has also refused to boost up their limited trade with Pakistan to give its neighbor another market for its exports. The way we look at it, India has all the reins to control Pakistan's economic meltdown, and it's a long play that has just begun. Found this video easy to follow? Give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for easygoing econ analysis.